Sunday night. It is 9:30. It is another Bills football victory Sunday night, and we are glad to be with you. My name is Tim Sampsell, and this is the Western New York Pride and Loyalty Administration's weekly meeting video cast for WNYPLA.com. You can like our page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter at Tim the Commish, like and subscribe on YouTube, as last week we started our new YouTube channel, so make sure you like and subscribe there as well. Not going to lie to you, most of tonight's show is going to focus on the Bills' 20-12 victory today over the very pesky New York Jets. How did I enjoy the game, Jake? Well, given that the team won, I enjoyed it tremendously. And also, it was cold. So, funny story. So my birthday is coming up, and my wife surprised me. Well, first, on Saturday, my two older daughters had their dance recital, and then afterwards, it was our youngest daughter's third birthday party, because we had her birthday. And I have no idea what was going to go on, and all of a sudden, two of my best friends from college show up at the party. And my wife tells me, well, this is half of your gift. The other half is you can't tell your buddy that you were going to watch the game with that you can, because you're going to the game. So that's how I found out I was going. And yes, thank you. So my birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks, and it was fun. It was cold. It was wet, and it was cold. We had our Bills tent set up. We were we were in the gas station across from Sheldon and O'Neill's Irish Pub there. $40 to park, but honestly, easy in and easy out, which was nice. Sold out crowd today at the stadium. Perfect football game. Yeah, something. We'll talk about how perfect it was. There were a lot of people on Twitter, on Facebook, and on WGR who did not find it to be perfect. So we'll get into that with you. I personally, we had hand warmers and foot warmers in our boots. We were layered up. My wife actually wore her snow pants into the stadium, which was smart. We had ponchos on. For whatever reason, I just think my nails are too sharp on my left hand, and I had 3 hand warmers break in my left hand. So you can see the soot on my fingernails from all of that, which was great stuff. Great stuff. So let's get into it. It was cold. It was wet. It was snowing. We all preferred the snow over the rain because the snow wasn't as wet. We were up in section 306, had a good view of just about everything. Listen, this is going to be one of those games that we're going to forget about it. Why? Because they won. This game, when you look back on the 2022 season, this game's really going to be a blip on the radar. I hate to say it, but it was a boring game. It was a boring football game. But sometimes you need that. But Allen didn't look great. But Allen this. The offense that. Again, not going to say his name, but there's an idiot at WGR ready to fire Ken Dorsey. And it's like, slow down. They are 10-3. They have won 10 games now for 4 consecutive seasons. They played in a wintry mix of rain and snow that with a slick field against a great defense that already beat them once this season. And they beat them by 8 points without their best stuff and without Allen having to do too much. Yes, had they lost the game, but they didn't lose. We'll talk about what they need to improve on, but man, oh man, I think everybody's got to, Jesus, take 5 minutes before you post your tweets and stuff. Jesus. Chris V, poor Mike White, guys, in an ice bath right now. He took a beating today. And John, Trey White was average at best. Yeah, I think you're being nice. A little bit concerned about Trey, especially with Saturday night and Tyreek Hill coming to town. By the way, currently 10-7 Chargers with 3:50 to go in the first half. Yeah, no, Trey looked a little slow on his cuts, a little bit slow on his breaks. Wasn't his best game. He almost seemed a little bit unsure of himself at times, John. But, you still, you'll take it. And Mike White, gamer, came back twice. I appreciate the grit and toughness. And I mean that just as a football fan. I appreciate the grit and toughness. And I think Robert Saleh thinks he has his quarterback. The Jets might not be in the for a quarterback come the draft. He threw for 261 today. No touchdowns, no interceptions. And you wonder, too, what the Jets could have been like with Breece Hall in their lineup. Chris Sem, officiating was a crap show. Same late hit flag. They picked up the flag on it during the Steelers-Ravens game. Guess what? They threw the flag and called the penalty. Miguel, talking about Trey White. That's the thing, though. You got to expect that from Trey. He's been out for a while. He has. And John says, I was being nice, with a laughing emoji. Well, I appreciate the kindness towards Trey. And I love Trey White. And I think Trey White is great. And I think he's worth the money, but he's still having some struggles coming back from that ACL. And he has a jump up in weight class next week in Tyreek Hill and Jayden Waddle. Nick B, Mike White is trash. Love it. I love it. Going back to Jake's comment, that's why it's WGR, not the Buffalo Bills. Come playoff time, it's going to be hard winning in that stadium in January. It was hard winning in that stadium today. It was very difficult winning in that stadium today for the Jets. They got one offensive touchdown right out of the gate in the third quarter, but I think a big key to this game was Buffalo's ability to bounce back. And this, I know they're playing Miami on Saturday night, but this kind of had that feel of that Miami game back week 3, but the opposite. You could argue that the Bills were kind of outplayed in this game. The stats would certainly show that. More passing yards, more time of possession, more first downs. But the Bills took took the shots that they had, got a couple of lucky breaks. That 4th and 1 with Dawson Knox was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And they did enough. It's kind of like hockey or soccer, where you might get outshot and you might lose the puck possession battle, but at the end of the day, you got more goals. Good comments and questions coming in here. Miguel says, I can't stand Dane Jackson, still getting beat deep. He wasn't getting beat too deep today, but he is still a liability. Sean McDermott was asked about Dane in his post-game press conference, and of course Sean said he still trusts Dane Jackson. He trusts everybody. Chris, Dane Jackson's on the menu at IHOP. Just ask for toast. Didn't. Chris V, we certainly can begin the home field discussion. I mean, this is December in Buffalo. What do you think it's going to look like on the field 6 p.m. on a Sunday in 7 weeks? I think it's going to look like how Josh Allen wants it to look. I think depending on the opponent, if Josh and Steph Diggs tell coach and the staff that they want it tarped, it's going to be tarped. If they don't, then it won't be. I do think it'll matter. I think the crowd noise matters. I think understanding the wind is a major advantage for the Bills. And I know that sounds weird, but being up near the top of the stadium today, you could see the flags. Some of them were standing still, some were blowing one way, some were blowing the other way. The flags on the goalposts were all blowing towards the tunnel side, yet at one point, the big flags above the scoreboard were blowing in opposite directions. But the Bills understand that and understand that kicking game, and I do think that matters. John, do you think the stadium is an advantage for the Bills? I'd rather play in a dome. Me too. And truthfully, I was reminded of this again today being at the stadium. You know, when you're up high, that ball stays below you all game long. I hate to sound so crass, but basically, you could just put a steel building over the stadium. You know, just have it be a little pointed so that the snow can run down. But that's really all you need. You just put a steel building over that thing and call it a day. Yes, I would prefer it to be a dome. I agree, Miguel. I would rather have Elam out there. Dan, are Bills Jets a new rivalry? No, not yet. I mean, they're divisional foes, so there's already that natural rivalry. But this isn't Bills Pats or Bills Dolphins. Yeah, I still think of the three divisional teams. You know, the Jets are the one you get up the least for of the three divisional teams. Miguel, but the thing is, receivers dropped the ball a lot. Knox dropped a couple, and McKenzie dropped a bunch. I remember with perfectly placed balls he had, and I remember McKenzie dropping one. The one Knox dropped was behind him. Not a great throw by Allen. That one was one of these. The two that really bothered me were the ones by Singletary. The one on the out pattern, he tried to catch it with his body. You got to get that running backs and receivers coach on. That's hands all day long. Got to get the hands on it. And I think they just have to play better. You know, John Brown dropped one that was a perfectly placed ball. And they have to play better. This is what it is. This is what it is. You're not playing indoors the rest of the season. Here's what the Bills have left. Saturday night, home against Miami. I like the Bills in this one. I don't think Tua can play in the cold. Orchard Park after dark is a different animal. That place is going to be rocking. And this is where that home field advantage comes in. And I think that matters. I think that matters. I agree. And that John Brown still has that breakaway speed, Miguel. He's still smoke. I think that's right. I think I know what you're talking about as well with Dawson Knox. You're talking about that play in the fourth quarter where Allen rolls out. That was a great pass breakup. And I'm stopping the clock. That was a great pass breakup. And it was perfectly placed by Josh, but the delivery was late. He needed to throw that ball a second earlier. The delivery on that was late. You hate to say it, but had he thrown it a second sooner, Knox makes that catch most likely, and you have a first down, and you don't have to really worry about giving the Jets the ball back. I'll say this. Defense had a banner day. 10 points. 10 points they give up defensively. Obviously, he had the block punt. That's how they get 12. The Bills win by 8. Boys and girls, they are now 5-3 in one-score games this season. 5-3. You can get rid of the notion that they can't win one-score games. All right? So they got Miami Saturday night, then at Chicago on Christmas Eve, then at Cincinnati on Monday Night Football after New Year's, and then they finish the season home against New England. I expect that game to be at 1 o'clock. I don't think they're going to really have anything to truly play for, possibly the 1 seed. Miguel says he'd rather play Brown more than McKenzie, to be honest. I think so. Brown more experienced, McKenzie not as consistent. Bengals game is going to be huge. Yeah, Daquan Jones did play a great game today, Miguel, you're right. Defense was amazing, especially Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau. Rousseau has been playing like a man possessed. I think he feels responsible for the production that Von Miller would have given. I thought overall it was a great game completely by the defense. I thought the defense played an excellent game. 3 sacks of Mike White, 2 of them put him down for the count. We were not making fun of Mike White, but when he saw he got injured twice, we're like, on the third one, that's going to be a TKO. You know? And I think Rousseau has done everything that he can. The Von Miller effect, as Jake calls it. I think he's done everything he can to pick up for Von Miller. Allen, 16-27 for 147 and a score. Great throw to Dawson Knox. Knox goes head over heels. It's a beauty of a touchdown. The 4th and 1 to get Knox under center like that and to get C.J. Mosley diving the way he did was a huge, huge deal. And then Knox with an athletic play. And I know, it's like, oh my God, Allen only threw for 147. Oh my God. His QBR was only at 51. His passer rating was only at 86.5. Did he make any real mistakes? Did he turn the ball over? Did he cost his team in any way, shape, or form? Did he get injured? No, and by the way, that 360 was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And he got the first, hurdles. Hurdle Avenue is back. Hurdles and then 360, he's got the first down. Chargers are going for it on 4th and goal at the 1, and they are burning a timeout. Very interesting. But you don't have to like the completion percentage today. I just like the decision making of Josh Allen. These last 4 games since the loss to Minnesota, his decision making has been on point. And for the people who are ripping Ken Dorsey and are worried about Allen, he's not making mistakes. He's got 1 interception in the last 4 games. 1. And it was against Detroit, who's won 5 of their last 6. The one that they lost to the Bills. All right, so the Jets were in the last playoff spot. Okay? New England hanging in there for a playoff spot. You know? And the Chargers do get in, and they're going to have at least a 9-point lead, maybe going into the half. It's a big deal for the Bills. If the Chargers beat the Dolphins, Saturday night's game, the pressure is off just a little bit. Because now you have a 2-game lead on Miami if the Chargers win tonight. That's right, Miguel. Miguel, that's right. They're winning with Allen playing all right. Imagine when he gets back on a roll, we're going to be dangerous. And you still don't know the condition of his elbow. Me and my buddies were talking in the car on the way through the stadium about his elbow, and we all agreed we would give Josh our elbow if he needed it. Understanding, of course, that would be a downgrade from his superhuman elbow, but I'm left-handed. Josh, I'll give you my left elbow too. I don't care. Like, come on, what Bills fan isn't lining up to give Josh Allen his elbow? They all are. They all are. By the way, again, weekly meeting video cast, Western New York Pride and Loyalty Administration, live and local with you on Sunday nights, 9:30. Follow me on Twitter at Tim the Commish. Check out WNYPLA.com for more. Like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Just search WNYPLA for that. And make sure you got Christmas shopping to do. The site is linked up to Amazon. Go to WNYPLA.com and you can access Amazon through there. And that is a great way to support us as well. Thank you, Miguel. Always appreciate you chiming in. And thank you for the support, man. And as always, appreciate all of you for joining me. I'm sorry I don't have much of a voice. I tried not to yell and scream so much today. I'm not going to lie to you. I was cold. But comfortable, just cold. And I'm getting older, and it's just... Did a lot of standing. Didn't feel like sitting in those wet bleachers. But again, sometimes these are the games you get. They're boring. They're not much to write home about. And defense has to make a play. And the defense did. They had 2 turnovers in this game. 2 big fumbles. The running game did run for over 100 yards. And the Allen touchdown. Allen 10 for 47. The longest 16 on the 360 spin. Chris M wants to know, can I stop a puck? No, probably not. 10, 15 years ago, I may have been able to stop a puck. Singletary, though, 8 for 39. McKenzie, 1 for 7. James Cook, only 4 carries for 6 yards, and Nyheim Hines, 1 carry for 3 yards. Quiet day offensively. Very quiet day. Dawson Knox led the way in targets and catches. 7 targets, 4 catches, 41 yards, with a touchdown along the 24. Stephon Diggs, 3 for 37 on 5 targets. He had the long of 32. Gabe Davis, 3 for 31 and a long of 17 on 4 targets. McKenzie, 3 3 catches, 21 yards on 5 targets. James Cook, 1 for 9. Hines, 1 for 4. Singletary, 1 for 4 on 2 targets. John Brown and Khalil Shakir each got a target, no catches. It was Daquan Jones and Matt Milano recovering the fumbles. White today, 27 of 44 for 268. No touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 3 times. He had a slightly better QBR than Allen at 56.3, but his passer rating was 78.6. Flacco, 1 of 3 for 1 yard. He was sacked. He had the strip sack fumble. As a team, their passer rating was 75.6. Zonovan, 17 for 71 and a score. Michael Carter, 5 for 5 yards. Garrett Wilson, 6 for 78. Elijah Moore, 6 for 60. Denzel Mims, 3 for 35. Conklin, 5 for 28. Barrios, 1 for 25. Davis, 1 for 15. Carter, 3 for 15. Azuma, 1 for 7. And Knight, 2 for 6. That was them receiving. Again, to bring home the point that this was more like a hockey game where you could say the Sabres may have been outplayed. The Bills, where the Bills were outplayed. Your team stats, first downs were in favor of the Jets, 19 to 14. Third down efficiency, the Jets were 8 of 17. Buffalo was a terrible 2 for 13. They have to fix that. But again, though, the sky is not falling. You don't have to fire Ken Dorsey because they had one game where they didn't light the team up for 50. Just chillax, please. Hi, Jim. Thanks for chiming in. But there were no first downs by penalty for the Jets. The Bills got 3 first downs by penalty. Oh, I agree. The Bills are totally fine. Total yards in the game were 309 to 232 in favor of the Jets. Total plays were 73 to 54 in favor of the Jets. The Jets had the ball for nearly 10 more minutes, 34-25 to 25-35. The Bills, though, caused 2 huge turnovers, including the one in the fourth quarter that helped lead to basically the icing field goal. And again, Tyler Bass clutched 2 for 2 in the field goals, and the Bills get a win. And everybody's got to relax. This team was finally coming off some decent rest, but they had to play a divisional opponent that was fighting for a playoff spot. They had already beaten them once and was coming in confident. They weren't playing the Texans, in which the Cowboys needed last-second heroics to beat the Houston Texans today. Okay? So, they beat a team with a winning record in the New York Jets. A good football team. I think a team that is getting better weekly, and I think Robert Saleh has them a year ahead. We knew that Saleh was going to be a good coach. The question was, were they going to get a good GM to put pieces together? And I think the answer is yes. I think the last question for the Jets is Mike White their quarterback of the future? He's 1-2 right now in these last 3 starts. Losing his last 2. He beat the Bears, but he lost a close one to the Vikings and lost a relatively close one to the Bills today. He is 0-2 against the Bills. He's never thrown a touchdown against the Bills. So the Bills might be Mike White's kryptonite. You just don't know. But it's a good win. Any win in the NFL is a good win. You'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. And at 10-3, they still control their own destiny for the division and for home field. And Jim says he likes where the Bills are at right now. Many are pumping up Kansas City, Cincinnati, the Fish, but you don't want the favorite role. I agree. I agree. I think Sean McDermott wants his team to feel like they're still an underdog. I just look at what McDermott's done, and we've talked about this on this show. Sean McDermott, to me, is a miracle worker, and I know they were 13 seconds away from probably going to the Super Bowl and probably winning it. But think about where this team was when he got here. It was 6 years ago today. Bills and Colts in the snow. No, that was a couple weeks ago, but still. Bills Colts in the snow game. And they pulled it off. And think about it, not to be snarky, but where the Bills, think about it, the Bills couldn't get out of their own way. And now you have fans and media members not just complaining, but bitching about a win. They are complaining about a win. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was Jerry Sullivan who had the gall to say to Josh Allen, something along the lines of, do you really think you could win a Super Bowl with your offense playing like this? And Josh, to his credit, just went, okay, but good Lord. Like, good Lord. They're winning games. Not every game is going to be a 5-star meal, boys and girls. I'm sorry. Take the wins. John says he can see why Cook is getting less time. He's missed some blocks. He certainly did today. If there's one complaint that I actually have about Allen's game is I thought he had some of his checkdowns more available and he didn't really take them. Chris M. wants to know, watching Blackshear today for Carolina, he wants to know what the hell the coaching staff was smoking, putting him on the practice roster and keeping Zach Moss. I don't know. I didn't really get to watch a lot of Carolina today. I didn't really get to watch much other than the Bills, to be honest. Just, you're coming from Rochester, you're getting out of that stadium. We got back here to Rochester around 6:30, and we thought we made some great time, all things considered. And Jim says Campbell leading the Lions. Is he ever? They're now farting around. They're sniffing around. They're in the hunt. And they've played great. They've won 5 of their last 6. The only one they've lost was to Buffalo. Moving on. We're not going to talk a ton of Sabres tonight. They had the OT loss on Friday night, home against Pittsburgh, and then they lost Saturday at Pittsburgh. Dan wants to know my thoughts on how Trey played. Not well, Dan. As I said earlier in the show, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, he looked tentative on some of his cuts. He appeared a little late on his breaks. He looked about half a step off today. And he's going to need to shore that up. Good field, good weather, bad weather. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is a step up in weight class Saturday night. And he's got to be ready. But I want to talk specifically about Jeff Skinner's cross-check to the face of Jake Gensel. If you didn't see it, find it. Skinner did get, I believe, a 3-game suspension. And while I don't like that he cross-checked him in the face, I do like that Skinner, a smaller, skinny, scoring forward, did a little bit of dirty work and protected his goalie. We've been hearing, my God, every Sabres fan remembers the cheap Milan Lucic on Ryan Miller, and that nobody stepped up to defend Ryan Miller. And that's how Steve Ott became a captain, and you hear it all the time. They need an enforcer. We need old-time hockey back. Where's the grit? Where's that Rob Ray, that Matt Barnaby, that guy who gets in their face? Well, they're doing it. Jeff Skinner doing it. Rasmus Dahlin doing it regularly. Dylan Cousins doing it. Justin Tuck doing it. This team has that grit. They're just young. And they're missing goaltending. But what I do like at least is that they're not hot and cold. 82-game season, I wanted to have a little bit more ebbs and flows of the season. A win here, a win there. A win here, a win there. An overtime loss here, a shootout win, a loss. Something that looks more like a tic-tac-toe board when you're talking about their last 10. Jim says, old-time hockey, Eddie Shore. Yeah. What the hell are you guys doing? Oh, putting on the foil, coach. Jake, you make a good point. If you were a good goalie, you'd want to play in Buffalo. Yeah, it appears to be a fun locker room, and Donnie Meatball seems to have their ear well. I like the Sabres. Yeah, obviously, Sabres fan. Love the Sabres. I didn't have high hopes for them. I still don't, but just make it so I want to tune in every night. And by and large, minus the 8-game losing streak, they have. And Chris talking about the Amherst, yeah, that's going to happen when you blow a 2-goal lead. But they did get a win. What they get? Shootout win over Toronto last night. So they're still in second in the North Division. By the way, the AHL this year got everybody to a 72-game season. So now you just have to follow points. The playoffs are still completely division-based. And every team but the last 2 get in except for the gigantic 10-team Pacific Division. I believe the top 7 get in that division. But the 7-team North, the 7-team Central, and the 8-team Atlantic Division will allow the be top 5 in the North and the Central, and then the top 6 in the Atlantic. Yes, Jim, you are right. Syracuse soccer, men's soccer, noon, national championship game against Indiana. Love it. Go Orange. I can't say anything more than that. I really do not know much about Syracuse soccer other than that they have a team, they play outdoors, and occasionally wear a striped uniform. Talking about the basketball team, though, always feels good when they beat the crap out of Georgetown, doesn't it? Sure does. They play Monmouth tomorrow evening. And as Jim says, Jesse Edwards bowling for the Orange. Run the offense through him. He could average 3 to 4 assists moving forward. Yeah, he could. And they've kept him out of foul trouble. And I think that's the difference. I really think that's the difference. You keep him in the middle, He knows where his strengths are. He's able to find the open man. I like how Judah Mintz is playing. I feel bad for Joe Girard. His college playing career has probably not went in any way, shape, or form the way he thought it would, being from Glens Falls, growing up a Syracuse fan, and being a New York State Mr. Basketball. It just has not went well for him. It just hasn't. And, he might get an opportunity to play somewhere overseas, but this will probably be it for Joe Girard. So, the Syracuse football program seems to have some trouble here. And the big trouble is the following. You lost offensive coordinator Robert Anae to ACC foe NC State, where he will stay the offensive coordinator. And you've lost defensive coordinator Tony White to become the defensive coordinator for Matt Rule at Nebraska. So he's going to the Big Ten. Now, thankfully, the Orange were able to promote Jason Beck, the quarterback's coach, up to the offensive coordinator spot, much like the Bills promoted Ken Dorsey when Brian Daboll left. That said, you lose both coordinators in a day. It's not good. Now, the rumor has it, I shouldn't say rumor, there are people around the Purdue football program who just lost their head coach Jeff Brom, who's going back to his alma mater, Louisville. There are people around the Purdue program that think Dino Babers would be a good fit at Purdue. By all means, take him. Have him. Go ahead. I'll even help him back. I'll even help you back him up. I promise. John with great breaking news for us. Tyreek Hill on the bench, ankle wrapped in ice. That's a big deal. And you hope with the quick turnaround he's not playing on Saturday night. I want to wish injury on anybody, but still, you want the Bills to win, so that's what we're going to do here. Because you do. You want the Bills to win every game. You know what? And it is why people whine and complain after wins, because they had to sweat it out a little bit. Although, this didn't really feel like sweating it out. One, because it's freezing outside. But two, they never trailed. It was 0-0 until Allen does a 360. Knox gets C.J. Mosley to dive into him. And then Allen finds Knox and he does a 360. And then it's tied. Then they got the lead back and they never gave it up. Anyway, Jim says, yeah, sign Dino up. Not going to happen. Yeah, probably not. But I'd love it. Chris says if they took Dino, they'd be doing Q's fans a huge Baber. But they sure would. Love it. Love it, Chris. Thanks, buddy. That's good stuff right there, man. And I will say this, and I've been beating this drum, and you normal viewers of this show know this. I would replace Dino Babers with a man named Bob Chesney, the head coach at Holy Cross. He's a New England guy, Northeast-based, played his college ball in the Northeast. He's coached at D3, D2, and now an FCS level, all in the Northeast. I believe all in New England, but still all in the Northeast and all at private institutions. I equate the hiring of Bob Chesney to the same ilk as when Ohio State hired Jim Tressel, because Tressel was at Youngstown State. He had won some national titles. He was taking a big step up. but he knew the area. He knew how to recruit, he knew how to stabilize that program, and he knew how to captivate the fan base by letting them know, what do you say famously, in 357 days in Ann Arbor, and that got the whole arena rocking. And I think Bob Chesney could have that effect. Jim says, to be fair, could Beck be the next head coach? Yes. Yes, he could. He certainly could, and he probably should. But I still like this Bob Chesney with his experience, his ability to recruit in the Northeast, also his experience being a head coach. If Dino were to leave, and by the way, that would be it. John Wildhack is not firing him. They made it to a bowl. That's it. They're not. John Wildhack is not firing Dino Babers. John Wildhack doesn't want to fire anybody. But if Dino were to leave, I would say Jason Beck would have the inside track to being the next head coach. But I still think that Bob Chesney, who can get to the boosters, get to the alumni, knows how to recruit the Northeast, and knows how to work within a Northeast private college athletic department system. He knows how to navigate those waters. I don't think so, Chris. Nope, I think this kid's too young. And this is Jason Beck, not John Beck. Good question, though. Hey, on that note, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Tim the Commish. Like our page on Facebook. Check out WNYPLA.com for more. We're going to be back with you next Sunday night for sure. We'll recap Bills, Dolphins, and hopefully we're talking about basically the division being sealed up for the Buffalo Bills. I think it will be another low-scoring game. I'll say the Bills 24-14 over the Fish on a Saturday night at 8:15 Orchard Park after dark. Be there, be square. Until next Sunday, I am Tim Sampson. Go Bills, go Sabres, go Hughes, go Simone.